Unless you're a nudist, style is for you. If you're wearing clothes, you cannot not communicate.
Hi, and welcome to Lead Well. Welcome to this new episode of Lead Well. I have a wonderful guest with me today, and that is Sarah Ryan. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Christine. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited because we have known each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful to witness your development into now a real huge YouTube star. That's fantastic. But to introduce you, I have a short bio here to share because there are so many great things that I don't want to miss out on. So it says Sarah helps individuals, speakers, and business owners stand out with a strong personal style, boosting confidence and creating a trustworthy professional image, which is fantastic. She's an award-winning businesswoman. Kudos for that. Recognized for her work in inclusion, diversity, and sustainability, with over 1.5 million views on her videos and courses. That's so impressive. Sarah has been featured in Woman's Way magazine as a successful entrepreneur. She's delivered keynote talks on style as a communication tool to organizations like AIB and the Associated Colleges of Illinois. With experiences in the Middle East and travels to 80 plus countries, we definitely need to talk about that as well. Sarah brings a unique cultural perspective to her work. As a qualified style coach, mind coach, and NLP master practitioner, she uses her expertise in behavioral science to achieve life-changing results for her clients. Wow, this is so great.
Yeah, thank you. I just realized I should update some of those numbers. I'm now multi-award winning and well
Oh,
over 2 million
wow.
views on YouTube. So yeah, yeah,
That's
things are on the up.
wonderful. Wow, that's so fantastic. And it's great because you're that rising star. And then at the same time, you're so approachable, which is always great. That's fantastic. I think what we can now focus on is a quote that you have on your website that says, "You've got 7 seconds to make an impression. Don't waste them." And I'm sure you've already made an impression on our audience. So that's the kind of me dressing up, me styling up to impress others. That's an important aspect that I want to cover with you. And the first question that really I was asking myself also was like, okay, I'm impressing others, but am I not also dressing up to impress myself, to have an impact on myself? So if you want to share a bit more about that, it would be great.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a complex thing how we dress. For as long as we know, we've been communicating with how we dress. We meet people from different parts of the world and we understand very quickly a little bit about their culture depending on how they dress. So, first and foremost, it's a tool for communication.
Mm.
We don't always get an opportunity to speak at length to explain who we are, what we do, or what type of person we are.
Mhm.
How we dress can convey that, and very quickly as well. There's studies shown people interpret images and symbols, pictures far quicker than words.
Mm.
So if we understand that, we can't underestimate the power of how we present ourselves physically to the
Mhm.
world. That's not to say we can easily say, oh, well, image isn't everything.
Mm.
Of course, it's not, but we cannot deny that we've got this instinct within us to read information from our surroundings, and part of that is how people present themselves.
Mhm.
The other thing is that there has been lots of studies on how the way we dress impacts how we feel and perform. And there's something, I won't go too much into it, but something called Enclothed Cognition. And this basically means that we have associations with certain types of clothes. If we put on a suit, we will behave differently, perform differently compared to if we might put on our stretchy clothes that we might wear for yoga.
Mhm.
And we perform and behave in different ways when we wear those clothes. So if we use that knowledge, depending on what situation we're walking into where we're making a presentation or we're interacting with other people, we can say, okay, how would I like to present myself? How would I like to feel? What would I like to communicate with the audience that I have in front of me? With that knowledge, you can make better decisions about what you wear. And of course, I probably don't have to go into too much detail in terms of if you've ever put on something that you just feel good in, you act differently, you stand
Mhm.
differently, you sit a little bit taller, you stand a little bit taller. Whereas if we go out and we're making a presentation, we're in the work environment or wherever it might be, and we're not happy with what we're wearing,
Mhm.
it interferes with everything else,
Mhm.
knocks the confidence. We might be overthinking clothes that are too tight or we're fidgeting with them, and we should be concentrating on what we're saying,
Mhm.
not what we're wearing at that point in time.
Mhm. And it's interesting you saying that because when I'm preparing for a speech, a lot of us will put a lot of emphasis into the content and the slides and the material and how I present. But as you said, I mean, what I wear has probably an equally important impact on how I appear to others.
Absolutely. I
Wow.
mean, like we go back to that 7 seconds to make a first impression. That is a key moment when someone first sees you, and you can either get them on board and interested and intrigued in what you've got to say, or they're doubting you straight away and wondering, this person's not dressed in the kind of the professional way or whatever it might be in that scenario. My trust is already a little bit gone. So it is an incredibly important moment, that first interaction with somebody, get your audience on board, or they might be doubting you, and you just have to work that much harder with your content and what you're saying.
Mm.
Whereas you can help yourself along with that before you even start your presentation.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very much in line of what one of my SVPs used to say. She always said, "Dress up." So if you want to climb the corporate ladder, make sure that you dress as if you were already on the next step.
Mm. That's exactly it. Yeah,
Mm.
dress for the job that you want,
Mhm.
not the job that you have. And looking back at my journey in various different jobs, I probably, when I had the choice to wear my own clothes, I probably did overdress a little bit,
Mhm.
but I believe it helped me in how I climbed through into what I'm doing now.
Mm.
Maybe I didn't even realize it at the time. It was just an instinct for me to dress up a little bit more than dress down.
Mhm.
And maybe I was always dressing for this job and I didn't even know it at the time. Yeah, that might be the case. Yeah.
Wow, wow. So what kind of people are you working with? Why do they reach out to you?
The market that I work with, it's quite varied. I suppose I could break it down into, let's say, three key markets. So, number one is mostly women who are at some point of transition in their life. That's when they come to me. So, they might be going back to work or finished having children, or maybe going through menopause, or maybe a breakdown of a relationship, or a new relationship, or some significant change in their life. Their confidence has taken a little bit of a hit, and they're not sure what their identity is at that moment in time and where they're going with it. So that would be one key market. And generally, they have a wardrobe full of clothes and they're still frustrated because they complain of having nothing to wear.
Mm.
So that would be a big market for me. The other thing is that I work with a lot of people who are business owners,
Mhm.
and men and women, I must say. And they are in a position where they're making presentations and they need to look a certain part
Mhm.
to build that trust and have that professional image. So it's people who are, I suppose, leaders. They are, yeah, doing presentations, meeting clients perhaps. So they're at that kind of professional level. Finally, there's the corporate level as well. So I might go into various companies, and depending on the market again, I cater to their needs. Sometimes it's an opportunity for them to have a little bit of fun, and we're not taking it so seriously. And we might do something like understanding your best colors or something like that. Other times, I see this more and more where I think that period of time where we were in lockdown between 2020 up until maybe even this point where people weren't in the office a lot.
Mhm.
A lot of people who entered the workspace during that time, and they may not quite understand the company culture or an appropriate way to dress. And so I might be brought in to do some kind of presentation as a group
Mhm.
on talking about how image can affect
Mhm.
various things in the workplace.
Mhm.
So there's those three key markets that I work
Mhm.
with.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So it's for everyone, I would say.
I mean, unless you're a nudist, style is for you. If you're wearing clothes, you cannot not communicate. If you have something on your body, you have made a choice to do that.
Mhm.
For the most part, people are making their own choices on to what they put on their body.
Mm.
And you are communicating, whether you like it or not, or whether you believe it or not, you are.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it's for everybody, I would say.
So is there one piece of advice that you're giving almost every single client that you have been working with?
Oh, yes. Most people I work with, I will tell them to
Mm.
slow down the shopping. Because often what I see is people understand, they're at that point where they understand, they recognize there's a problem. I'm not getting this right. I don't feel good. Their immediate solution tends to be, okay, I'll go out and go shopping. And then they continue to make mistakes. And it's this vicious cycle because they haven't broken that cycle, paused to learn about, well, who are you, and who you want to be going forward. That's your style personality.
Mm.
What best suits your body shape? What best suits the colors that your natural features? And really understanding what works for their lifestyle. Because there's an awful lot of people here whose icons might be somebody, an awful lot of people will say to me, Princess Kate Middleton.
Mhm.
And I say, yeah, absolutely. She dresses fabulously. However, how many of us are going out with royal engagement and in the press and at that kind of level? But yet we're using these people as our inspiration. So it's really about slowing down. And that goes for pretty much everybody I work with. And if we're working together over several weeks, which generally I do, I ask them not to shop during that time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Slow down. And then they find that once they break that cycle, it gives them space to think about, okay, well, who am I?
Mhm.
Whereas if you're constantly in the shops and constantly consuming, you're not giving yourself that space to think. You're just being influenced by the fashion industry, which is not what we want. We
Mhm.
want to understand our personal style, and then we make much better decisions going forward.
Yeah, and also much more sustainable, I guess.
Yes, that's a big part of what I do. And it's inevitable that is something that happens, that people, when they understand what they should be wearing, what looks best for them, you become more discerning, a little bit more picky about what you buy. And therefore, it slows down that shopping process. But also, you start to become more willing to pay a higher price for one item of clothing, which you will have in your wardrobe for 10, 20 plus years and maybe hand down to the next generation, which is kind of unheard of these days.
Mhm.
People are just thinking, oh, new event, new day, new outfit. And it's very disposable. And we cannot continue like that. We really can't.
Wow. That's such an important statement.
Yeah. Yeah, sustainability in what I do, it's key. My first online course, Streamline Your Style, was all about how to get more out of having less.
Mm.
So there's gems in our wardrobes. We just have to understand how to use them better.
Yeah, it's all about combining them instead of buying
Yeah,
new. Wow.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. The most sustainable items out there are the ones that are in the wardrobe.
Wow. Wow. So the title of this podcast is Lead Well, Yourself and Others. And one question I always like to ask my guests is, what kind of leader have you experienced in your life that you would think of as a wonderful leader? And what made them wonderful? What made them the best leader that you have worked with or for?
Yeah, I was thinking a lot on this question, and I think I'm not thinking of one particular person, rather more traits that I've seen in various people along the
Mhm.
way. And I've worked with many, many leaders. There was a time when I was cabin crew for an airline, and on every flight I worked, you had a new leader, let's call them. And some were better than others. And when I think about what made a good leader, was that they didn't separate themselves from the main group of workers.
Mhm.
They were very much part and get willing to get stuck in as well. To me, that's a leader. It's not somebody who stands out in front and dictates what to do. It is being part of the group and showing people the way
Mm.
rather than telling them.
Mhm.
So that I've always responded better to people who are not afraid to get stuck in with the work as well.
Mhm.
I think most people will respond better to somebody like that than
Mm.
somebody who sits in the corner and says, do that, and delegates absolutely everything. There's a time and a place to delegate, of course. But I think you've got to be part of the wider group and understand the group and
Mm.
see how they respond. And if you have things like NLP skills or something like that, you can communicate very well with people as well. And I think that's also key. But definitely showing rather than telling would
Mm.
be a big thing for me for a leader.
Mhm. And when you think about it from a how they dress perspective, so what does a great leader dress like? And when you say blend in with the others, do they blend in with their clothes as well, or do they stand out?
Well, that's an interesting one. And I'll move away from that scenario of the cabin crew because we all wore uniforms. And
Mm.
funny enough, the leaders, if you like, did have a separate uniform. And I think it is important to separate yourself in a way with how you dress. And of course, it depends in every situation. When I'm speaking on a stage or in front of a group of people, representing me and my brand, my business, I want to make a big impact. I want to be seen. And so that often for me means wearing bold colors and knowing that I'll probably be the most, what will I say, outrageously dressed person there, but still in a professional way. When people see me, they know why I'm there.
Mhm.
And I think it is important to stand out in that regard. And I use that as a tool for inspiration. That when people see me, they think, oh, wow, that's a different way of dressing, and that's possible for me as well. So that's really important. So I think you can use the way you dress as inspiration for people as well. It
Mm.
also, I mean, again, going back to various studies, people who wear suits and different, more formal wear in situations are more trustworthy. That's why you'll often see car salespeople dress quite sharply, or real estate agents or something like that. Because if you turned up in your tracksuit, well, that gives a very different message. And I don't think you're going to build the trust that you need in that situation. So, people, when they see somebody smartly dressed, there's studies that prove that trust is given to that person almost immediately.
Mm. Yeah, so dress up as a leader, to be
Yes,
seen as a leader
absolutely.
and be
Yeah.
considered as a leader.
Hmm.
Yeah. And also to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, if I turn up and do a talk in my workout gym wear, I am not going to perform as well as I know I can when I dress for the part.
Mm.
It makes a huge difference, a very real difference. So we
Yeah.
can't underestimate how clothes impact how we perform.
Hmm. So you mentioned your gym dress, and I know you're a very hardworking woman. So what are you doing to keep healthy in this very demanding times?
Yes, well, I have a few different things. Generally, for me, it's moving. Some
Mm,
kind of movement is good. Also, getting outside in nature. I do love to swim in the sea.
mm,
Just going for walks in nature. It resets the mind completely. So that is, if I don't get outside in a day, I can feel it. It's not a good feeling. Also, as well as that, I have recently taken up sewing,
mm,
and that has made me incredibly mindful and, I suppose, in some kind of a flow state.
mhm,
My hands are in use. I'm not on my phone or on the computer or in front of a screen. It's something very tactile. And again, it's just about that getting outside of my head,
mm.
using my hands. And I have found that to be very soothing on the mind.
Wow. And very fulfilling because you also have an outcome.
Exactly. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. I get impatient for the outcome, but yes, it does
Ah!
come. Yeah. Eventually we get there.
Wow. Wow. Well, it was so wonderful talking to you and with you and listening to you. And I could go on for hours, but I know that people can find you if they want to go on, because as I said, you have a YouTube channel. So do you want to share more of where to find you and how people could work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my website is thestylecoach.ie, and my Instagram handle is thestylecoach.ie. And over on YouTube, you'll get a lot of great, useful videos over there. Um, and you'll find me, Sarah Ryan, the Style Coach. So those are the kind of main platforms where you're going to find me.
Wonderful. And I bet you explained there how people then can get in touch and work with you if they wish that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, generally, my website is the best place to start, but you can email me, Sarah at thestylecoach.ie. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions your listeners might have.
Wow. And yeah, get dressed up in the best possible way to make an impression on
Yeah, that's it.
ourselves and others. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. It was wonderful
Thank
having
you,
you.
Christine.
Thank you. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below, and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.